You're blind to 99% of existence, and you call this mutilation life. Right now, infinite dimensions are operating through your body while you crawl around in a pathetic fraction of what's real. And here's the worst part. You didn't choose this blindness. It was imposed on you, and you defend it as if it were yours. Who are you if even your identity isn't real? The Kybalion exposes the truth. The all is mind. Your personality, your name, your body, all of this is just condensed thought, a temporary frequency that you mistake for your being. The principle of vibration reveals that pure consciousness commands matter. When you completely abandon your false identity in deep meditation, you access the primordial quantum field where all matter is born and dies. In that state, without ego, incurable diseases disappear. Cells reorganize themselves. Keep pretending to be this imaginary person or dissolve the illusion now before you die without...
The human brain operates as an instrument of cosmic tuning, capable of switching between different stations of consciousness through the modulation of its electrical frequencies. This capacity, known to the Hermetists for millennia through the Kybalion's principle of vibration, establishes that absolutely everything in the universe is in constant vibratory motion, from the electrons orbiting the atomic nuclei to the thoughts traveling through the neural networks. The Hermetic masters made a fundamental discovery about this tuning capacity. There are two general planes of consciousness, the lower and the higher, and the understanding of this fact enabled them to rise to the higher plane and thus escape the swing of the rhythmic pendulum that manifested on the lower plane. The lower plane is where you are now, eyes open, the neocortex processing these words, and your attention locked onto the world of the senses. The higher plane manifests when the brain alters its operational frequency to deeper states. When you are awake at this exact moment, reading these words, your brain vibrates in rapid waves, the beta waves that keep your attention focused on the external world. Each stimulus captured by the senses, the light reflecting on the screen, the ambient sounds, and the texture of the chair where you're sitting, generates electrochemical cascades processed by the neocortex, that evolutionarily recent layer that wraps around the older brain structures. The neocortex functions as the headquarters of your conscious identity, incessantly processing sensory data to construct what you call reality. There exists, however, a specific neurological transition that occurs when the eyes close and the breathing deliberately slows down. The brainwaves begin to decrease their speed, first to alpha when you relax but remain alert. Then, something deeper happens. The brain descends to theta, that slow frequency that normally only emerges in the moments before sleep or during REM sleep. Theta represents an extraordinary state where the barriers between the conscious and the subconscious dissolve. Hypnotherapists have known this secret for decades. When the brain reaches theta, the critical mind shuts off and suggestibility increases dramatically. You become an open receiver without the usual filters that normally evaluate, judge, and reject information. The Kybalion teaches through the principle of mentalism that the all is mind, the universe is mental, and it is precisely in theta that this hermetic truth reveals itself experientially. During deep meditation, a fascinating phenomenon occurs in the brain structures. Energy literally migrates from the neocortex to the limbic system, that complex of evolutionarily ancient structures that includes the hippocampus, the amygdala, and the thalamus. Brain scanners show this clearly, while the prefrontal cortex, responsible for logical analysis and the maintenance of personal identity, drastically reduces its activity. The limbic system lights up with increased activity. You temporarily cease to be the person you believe yourself to be. The name you answer to, the roles you play, and the worries you carry. All of this resides in the neocortex that now operates in minimal mode. The limbic system doesn't know your biography, doesn't care about your bills to pay, or your appointments tomorrow. It operates in a more fundamental language, the language of frequencies, emotions, and primordial instincts. When the physical senses are deliberately silenced through closed eyes and bodily immobility, something paradoxical happens. The closed eyes eliminate most of the sensory processing that normally consumes brain resources. Controlled breathing calms the sympathetic nervous system. The immobile posture deactivates proprioception, that constant sense of where your body is in space. With each sensory portal that closes, you cut one more anchor that ties you to the three-dimensional world. The brain, deprived of its usual sensory data, begins to search for other sources of information. It's like turning off all the noisy appliances in a house to finally hear the whisper that was always there. The subconscious, normally buried under the constant noise of the conscious mind, emerges in its fullness. But a fundamental question arises that the ancient Hermetists already contemplated. If all sensory channels are closed, if you're not receiving information through the eyes, ears, touch, or any other physical sense, then where exactly do the visions, insights, and revelations that arise in these deep states come from? The answer isn't in the physical brain, but in what the brain can tune into when it changes its operational frequency. The entire universe pulses with information at frequencies that your normal senses could never capture. And you're about to discover just how limited the slice of reality you normally perceive truly is. The source of the information that arises in deep meditative states reveals itself when we understand the vastness of what remains hidden from human senses. The Hermetic principle of correspondence teaches that, as above, so below, pointing to layers of reality that interpenetrate in the same space, distinguished only by their specific vibratory ranges. Human vision depends exclusively on a tiny fraction of the electromagnetic spectrum. Between the deepest red and the most intense violet that your eyes can perceive, exists a window so narrow that its proportion to the total spectrum defies comprehension. While you decode these words through visible light, infinite other frequencies traverse the same space without leaving a trace in your consciousness. Infrared radiation continuously bathes the environment, emanating from every surface with a temperature above absolute zero. Microwaves penetrate walls and biological tissues, carrying encoded information. Radio waves, even longer, carry signals across oceans and continents. At the other extreme of the spectrum, beyond the violet that marks the upper limit of human vision, ultraviolet radiation bombards Earth's atmosphere. X-rays pass through matter, revealing structures that visible light could never show. Gamma rays, originating from cosmic events of unimaginable energy, cross entire galaxies before reaching Earth. This moment contains a complete electromagnetic symphony of which you capture only a single note. Trillions of neutrinos generated in the solar core pass through your body as you read this sentence. Thousands of communication signals, phone conversations, data transmissions, and television programs occupy the space around and inside your skull. Reality teems with information that your senses simply cannot access. The Hermetic principle of vibration reveals that the distinctions between solid matter, radiant energy, and pure consciousness reside solely in their characteristic frequencies. What you interpret as solidity, the chair's resistance, the body's weight, and the texture of objects, emerges when energy vibrates at frequencies low enough to condense into stable patterns that your senses interpret as matter. Atomic structure exposes this illusion of solidity. The atomic nucleus occupies an infinitesimal portion of the atom's total volume. The electrons, even smaller, orbit at proportionally vast distances. Between the nucleus and the electrons exists only emptiness permeated by force fields. If the nucleus of a hydrogen atom were enlarged to the size of a basketball, its single electron would be orbiting miles away. All the intermediate space would remain empty. Modern cosmology confronts humanity with an even more disturbing revelation. All observable matter in the universe, every visible star, every photographed galaxy, and every gas cloud detected by radio telescopes constitutes approximately 5% of the cosmos's total mass energy. The rest exists as dark matter and dark energy, substances that don't interact with electromagnetic radiation and therefore remain completely invisible to any instrument based on detecting light or other forms of radiation. 95% of the universe remains fundamentally inaccessible to direct observation. You form your convictions about the nature of reality by observing only the foam on the surface of an ocean whose depth and content remain unknown. Every certainty you carry about what is possible or impossible is based on data gathered from a statistically irrelevant sample of the whole. The Kabbalion describes planes of existence that coexist in the same space: the physical plane of dense matter, the mental plane of thoughts and ideas, and the spiritual plane of essences and principles. These planes don't occupy different locations, they interpenetrate completely, differentiating themselves only by the vibratory ranges in which they operate. Your ordinary consciousness remains fixed on the physical plane because your senses evolved specifically to detect those frequencies. The Hermetic principle of mentalism categorically states, the all is mind, the universe is mental. Consciousness doesn't emerge from matter. Matter condenses from consciousness operating at specific frequencies. But if the human mind has access to less than 1% of the available informational spectrum, how can it exercise its complete creative power? The quantum field provides the missing link. This ocean of pure potentiality permeates what you perceive as the vacuum between objects. Each cubic inch of empty space pulses with energy and information at frequencies that completely transcend sensory detection capacity. When the brain alters its oscillatory pattern in deep meditative states, it begins to resonate with these subtler frequencies of the field. The quantum field permeates every point of the universe like an invisible ocean of pure potentiality. Physicists calculate that the energy density of the quantum vacuum astronomically exceeds all the energy contained in the visible matter of the cosmos. Each cubic centimeter of apparently empty space pulses with quantum fluctuations, virtual particles emerging and disappearing billions of times per second. This phenomenon reveals the fundamental paradox: absolute emptiness doesn't exist. Even in the most perfect vacuum that technology can create, removing every atom and molecule, space continues to seethe with incessant quantum activity. Pairs of electrons and positrons materialize from nothing, exist for infinitesimal fractions of a second, and annihilate each other, returning their energy to the field. The Hermetic principle of polarity illuminates this apparent contradiction. Emptiness and fullness represent complementary aspects of the same fundamental phenomenon, the unified field that exists simultaneously as total absence and absolute presence. During deep meditation, when you direct consciousness toward nothingness, you're accessing this primordial repository from which all physical reality emerges. Quantum mechanics establishes that subatomic particles exist in superposition until the moment of observation. An electron doesn't possess a definite location. It exists as a cloud of probabilities spread through space. Only when measured does this cloud instantly collapse into a specific position. The observing consciousness transforms possibility into reality through the act of observation. The human brain in specific meditative states demonstrates measurable alterations in its electromagnetic patterns. Brain regions normally isolated establish direct communication. The right and left hemispheres synchronize their oscillations. Areas of the brain that rarely show coordinated activity begin to pulse in unison. The entire organ can temporarily function as a unified, coherent system. This neural coherence transforms the brain into an interface capable of detecting normally inaccessible frequencies. The synchronized brain oscillations create an interference pattern that can resonate with the subtle fluctuations of the quantum field. Information encoded in frequencies beyond common sensory perception becomes momentarily accessible to consciousness. The Hermetic principle of rhythm governs these interactions. Every manifestation in the universe follows cycles of expansion and contraction, materialization and dissolution. Stars condense from gas clouds, shine for billions of years, and eventually disperse their elements back to space. Civilizations arise, flourish, and disappear. Even the entire universe expands and may contract. This same rhythm pulses through the quantum field at temporal scales ranging from nanoseconds to eons. Conscious synchronization with these fundamental rhythms allows experiences of direct knowledge without the mediation of the senses. Mathematicians report complex equations arising completely in consciousness. Musicians describe entire symphonies downloading instantaneously. Inventors visualize functional devices without an incremental design process. These insights don't emerge from linear information processing, but from direct access to patterns already existing in the field. Quantum entanglement demonstrates that the field operates beyond conventional spatial restrictions. Two particles that have interacted remain correlated, regardless of the subsequent distance between them. Measuring the state of one instantly determines the state of the other, even if separated by billions of light years. This non-local correlation violates common intuition about the nature of reality, but has been experimentally verified repeatedly. Human consciousness participates in this quantum non-locality. In expanded states of perception, awareness doesn't remain confined to the limits of the physical body. People in deep meditation report verifiable experiences of remote perception. Twins separated by continents frequently experience inexplicable synchronicities. Mothers instantly sense when their distant children are in danger. These phenomena suggest that consciousness can access information through non-local quantum channels. The quantum field contains not just energy, but structured information. Every possible configuration of matter and energy exists first as an informational pattern in the field. The DNA that organizes trillions of cells in your body represents field information expressed in physical molecules. The thoughts that cross your mind are disturbances in the field that create specific neural patterns. The future exists in the field as probability awaiting appropriate conditions for manifestation. The Hermetic principle of cause and effect operates through the field in ways that transcend linear temporal sequence. Quantum experiments demonstrate retrocausality, future events influencing past conditions. Particles traverse barriers through quantum tunneling, appearing on the other side without passing through the intermediate space. The field operates according to principles that the mind conditioned by macroscopic experience finds incomprehensible. Consciously accessing this ocean of potentiality requires a fundamental transformation in the state of consciousness. What comes next demands nothing less than the temporary dissolution of everything that constitutes your personal identity. To connect with the quantum field, you need to go through a radical process, the complete abandonment of your identity. The ancient Hermetists knew this technique, and today, neuroscience confirms what happens in the brain during this controlled dissolution. The first step is to forget that you have a body. That's right, the consciousness that now registers the weight in the chair, the temperature of the environment, and the clothes touching your skin needs to completely disconnect from these sensations. The body continues there, breathing, the heart beating, but your mind no longer registers any of it. It's as if the body simply evaporated from your perception. The Kabbalian's principle of mentalism says that the all is mind. If everything is mental, then the experience of having a body is also a construction of the mind, and it can be temporarily turned off. The yogis of India prove this when they enter deep states where the heart almost stops beating and breathing becomes imperceptible. They literally forget that they have a body. Then comes the second layer. Your social identity needs to dissolve. Your name, that sound you've heard since childhood and that makes you turn your head automatically, needs to lose all meaning. John, Mary, Peter, they become just empty noises. Your profession, what you do every day to make a living, disappears. Doctor, teacher, business person, they're just labels that mean nothing in the unified field. The roles you play in life also need to go away. Father, mother, son, friend. All these characters that you wear like different clothes depending on the situation need to be abandoned. Each relationship that anchors you in the world, your mother's face, your children, your partner, all of this needs to temporarily vanish from your consciousness. It's not rejecting these people, it's letting go of the mental threads that tie you to a specific identity. Your material world also disappears. The house where you wake up every morning, the cell phone you check all the time, the car you drive, objects that have become extensions of yourself are mentally deleted. The places you know, the cities you've visited, even the country where you were born, all your personal geography is erased. You continue to exist, but without an address in the universe. The principle of correspondence, as above, so below, shows its truth here. When you remove all the anchors from below, the above becomes accessible. With nothing tying you to the physical plane, consciousness naturally rises to higher frequencies. The hardest part is dissolving time. Your entire past, childhood memories, successes, failures, traumas, and achievements, everything needs to be let go as if it had never happened. 20, 40, 60 years of personal history simply evaporate. The future also goes away. Your plans, worries, dreams, and fears about tomorrow disappear completely. Without a past to tell you who you were, without a future to imagine who you'll be, only this exact moment remains. The brain goes through impressive changes during this process. The network that maintains your sense of identity, a set of brain regions that work together to create the sensation of I, practically shuts down. The frontal part of the brain that constantly tells the story of who you are goes quiet. The region that integrates information about your place in the world drastically reduces its activity. The area that separates you from the surrounding environment diminishes its function. At the same time, other parts of the brain wake up. Regions associated with transcendent experiences increase their vibrations. The part that processes subtle internal states becomes hyperactive. The portal between the senses and consciousness begins to function in completely different ways, possibly opening channels that normally remain closed. The principle of vibration manifests clearly here. Each layer of identity that you abandon is like taking weight off of you. Your consciential frequency goes up. You literally become lighter energetically, capable of vibrating at increasingly higher frequencies of the field. Those who have gone through this describe the moment when the last layer of identity falls. No name, body, history, place, or time remains. Just pure consciousness observing the void. But this consciousness isn't empty or still. It pulses with infinite possibility, ready to receive information that couldn't arrive while you were heavy with all the baggage of personal identity. Tibetan monks can maintain this state for hours. During this time, their brains function in radically different ways from normal. They access neural potentials that remain completely dormant in everyday consciousness. This void that you achieve isn't the final destination, it's the preparation. With all the interference of personal identity removed, your nervous system is ready for something extraordinary. What comes next transcends any experience you might have in the normal state of consciousness. The change happens like lightning. The brain that was vibrating in the slow waves of theta suddenly explodes into gamma activity, the fastest waves the human brain can produce. It's not a smooth transition. It's like water that instantly turns to steam when it reaches the right temperature. The devices that measure brain activity show peaks that exceed everything that occurs in normal consciousness. During daily life, small bursts of gamma waves occur when you have an insight or recognize something important. But what happens when you connect to the quantum field is completely different. The entire brain can light up with synchronized gamma waves, creating a state of total coherence that doesn't exist in common experience. The Kybalian's principle of polarity explains this sudden transformation. Opposites touch, the maximum stillness of theta waves instantly transforms into the maximum activity of gamma waves. It's the same phenomenon we see in nature when systems reach critical points and spontaneously reorganize into something completely new. The sensation is indescribable. Many report an electric current rising up the spine, starting at the base and exploding through the top of the head. The body that had been forgotten returns to consciousness, but transformed, every cell vibrating at a frequency that seems impossible to bear. The brain releases a flood of pleasure and revelation chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, all at the same time, in quantities that would normally be dangerous. But instead of causing chaos, these chemicals create a perfect symphony in the nervous system. Even with eyes closed, the visual system can become intensely active. Complex geometries of light appear in internal vision, fractal patterns pulsing in colors that don't exist in the normal world. These visions don't come from the eyes. They arise directly from the visual cortex, stimulated by gamma frequencies. The brain is literally creating light from pure neural activity. The principle of rhythm appears in the gamma oscillations that pulse in specific patterns. 40 times per second, 80 times, sometimes more than 100, frequencies that create resonances throughout the entire nervous system. Each neuron participates in this electric dance, each connection firing in perfect synchrony with billions of others. The feeling of love that arises in this state doesn't resemble anything you've ever felt. It's not love for someone or something specific. It's love as a fundamental force of the universe, experienced directly. The heart can speed up or slow down dramatically. Breathing becomes chaotic, very deep, or can stop completely without causing panic. Information begins to flow into your consciousness without passing through the normal senses. Understandings about the nature of reality arise, ready and complete. Personal problems that seemed unsolvable suddenly become obvious. Insights about how the universe works appear with total clarity. You're not learning or deducing this information. It's simply there, as if it had always been waiting for you to notice. The principle of mentalism shows its deepest truth in these moments. The separation between your individual mind and the universal mind disappears. You discover that your personal consciousness is just a localized expression of an infinite consciousness that permeates everything. This isn't philosophy or metaphor. It's a direct and undeniable experience of union with the source of all existence. The parts of the brain that control time perception function in a completely altered way. Minutes can feel like hours, or hours pass like seconds. Some experience eternity, the direct perception of a moment that contains all the time that exists. The pineal gland, right in the center of the brain, shows unusual activity during these gamma peaks. This small structure that Descartes called the seat of the soul can release substances that further amplify the experience. Compounds that science is still trying to understand are produced and released into the bloodstream. The physical body demonstrates capabilities that seem impossible. Temperature can rise or fall dramatically. Oxygen consumption drops to levels that would normally cause fainting. Some become temporarily immune to pain. The immune system shows increased activity, with inflammation reducing significantly. When the experience finally begins to diminish, the brain doesn't immediately return to normal. The gamma waves gradually slow down, but the neural configuration remains altered. New connections formed during the peak of the experience remain. Patterns established during the expanded state continue to influence how you process information. Consciousness has been permanently expanded, unable to completely return to its previous limits. This electric awakening isn't just an interesting brain experience. The elevated gamma frequencies create specific conditions that allow something even more extraordinary: the direct reorganization of your body's matter through expanded consciousness. When elevated gamma frequencies flood the nervous system, the boundary between consciousness and matter dissolves completely. What quantum physics suggests, and the Kybalion has always taught, becomes living experience. Consciousness doesn't inhabit the body, it creates it, moment by moment, through the frequencies at which it vibrates. The autonomic nervous system, that silent intelligence that keeps you alive without needing conscious commands, enters a state of perfect order during these peaks of expanded consciousness. This system normally operates in controlled chaos, each organ following its own rhythm, reacting to stress and the demands of life with desynchronized patterns. But when bathed in the frequencies of the quantum field, something magical happens. It's as if a higher intelligence takes command. The heart finds a rhythm that isn't just regular, it's mathematically perfect, following harmonic proportions that appear throughout nature. Breathing synchronizes with the heartbeat in a dance that ancient yogis called golden breath. Each gland, each organ, and each system finds its place in a biological symphony of impossible precision. The Hermetic principle of vibration reveals its deepest truth here. Your cells, trillions of them, normally vibrate each at its own frequency, creating cellular cacophony. Under the influence of elevated gamma waves, they begin to oscillate in unison. Trillions of tiny oscillators entering phase, vibrating as a single, coherent entity. You cease to be a collection of parts and become a unified field of organized energy. This cellular coherence produces a phenomenon that science is just beginning to understand. The cells begin to emit light differently, not light visible to the eyes, but a subtle luminescence that sensitive instruments can detect. During ordinary states, this emission is weak and chaotic. During connection with the field, it becomes coherent and amplified. You literally glow from within with a light that isn't physical, but that organizes the physical. DNA responds to these frequencies like a harp responding to the wind. Genetic strings that had been silent for decades begin to vibrate. The code doesn't change, but the music it plays transforms completely. Information stored in what scientists called junk DNA, those 98% of the genetic code that doesn't produce proteins, awakens with renewed purpose. The principle of mentalism shows its absolute supremacy in these moments. The all is mind, the universe is mental, and your body is a universe in miniature, responding to the commands of expanded consciousness. Each cell is a small receiver tuned to the frequency of your consciousness. When that frequency rises to the level of the quantum field, the cells respond by reorganizing their own structure and function. The energy that flows through the system during these states doesn't come from the food you eat or the air you breathe. It comes directly from the field, that ocean of zero-point energy that permeates every atom of your body. It's as if each cell becomes a small portal, accessing energy directly from the source instead of depending on normal metabolic processes. The transformations that occur defy everything that conventional biology considers possible. Tissues that shouldn't regenerate begin to rebuild themselves. Neural connections considered permanently lost re-establish themselves. The body accesses an original blueprint of perfect health that was archived somewhere beyond the genes, in the very morphogenetic field that organizes life. The principle of correspondence manifests impressively. The order achieved in consciousness during union with the field is instantly mirrored in the physical order of the body. It's not a gradual healing process, it's an instantaneous reorganization of matter following the pattern of elevated consciousness. As above, so below. But here we discover that the above of consciousness has absolute power over the below of matter. Biological time can flow differently during these states. Processes that would normally take months happen in minutes. Regenerations that would require years occur in hours. It's as if the body operates on a different timeline, where the normal laws of biological cause and effect are replaced by quantum causality, where the healthy future collapses into the present. The true revelation is this: you don't have a body, you're constantly creating one through the frequencies of your consciousness. Every second, billions of atoms in your body are replaced. In 1 year, 98% of all the atoms that make up you now will have been exchanged. What maintains the form and function isn't matter. It's the energetic pattern, the consciential frequency that organizes this matter in constant flux. When you access the quantum field and elevate your consciential frequency, you're literally rewriting the pattern that organizes your body's matter. It's not just healing, it's recreation. It's not repairing something broken, it's remembering and manifesting the original blueprint of perfection that was always available in the field. The principle of rhythm ensures that these elevated states eventually yield. The gamma waves diminish, consciousness returns to bodily focus, and ordinary perception re-establishes itself. But the changes created during the peak of the experience remain. The body has been upgraded to a superior version of itself. New neural pathways have been established. More coherent cellular patterns have been installed. More importantly, you now know through direct experience that you are an energetic being temporarily focused in a material body. You've touched your true nature, pure consciousness capable of commanding and reorganizing matter through frequency modulation. You've experienced the co-creative power you've always possessed, but which the perceptual prison of the normal senses usually hides. Every change begins with understanding your role as a co-creator, and the only way to connect with this divine intelligence is through meditation. We've developed a set of audio tools to help you access this higher state of consciousness. To learn more and get immediate access, click the link on the screen or in the comments. If this video resonated with you, write in the comments, "It made sense to me,"